Good morning. We welcome you for today's special workshop on understanding money traps, saving safely, and ensuring digital security for your financial health. This workshop is organized by Moneylife Foundation and supported by Depositor Education and Awareness Fund, that is DEAF, of the Reserve Bank of India. Today's event flow is simple. We have 4 sessions. After the first session, there is a tea break, and then we will continue with our next 2 sessions. I'm happy to announce that our speakers have agreed to answer any query that you may have in the last session. So keep your questions ready for the Q&A session. We shall wrap up by 1 o'clock. Since you have already seen the video about Moneylife Foundation, I will go straight to the introduction of our speakers. Let me introduce Sucheta Dalal, whose session is on understanding money traps. Ms. Dalal is founder trustee of Moneylife Foundation and also managing editor of Moneylife magazine. Ms. Dalal has over 30 years in journalism with some of India's leading newspapers, including the Times of India. She was awarded the Padma Shri in 2006 for her work and investigations, which include the Harshad Mehta scam of 1992 and coverage of other issues. Before I invite Ms. Dalal to begin the session, I request you to either switch off your cell phones or put them on silent mode. May I now invite Ms. Dalal to begin the workshop.
Morning, everybody. Looks like 10 o'clock is too early for Punekars to come in. But Moneylife Foundation, those of you who attend our programs know that we start on time and we end on time, so it doesn't matter what, we're going to start. So my session is on understanding money. The way our program is divided is we talk about where you're likely to lose money. That's the first session. Then today, everyone wants us to go digital. The Prime Minister is constantly promoting Digital India. So Yogesh is going to talk about digital safety, because the Reserve Bank of India tells us there's an exponential increase in digital fraud. And honestly, there are still no solutions. So it's better to be careful. And the third session is what all of you ultimately want to know, which is what to do with the money, which is what Devashish is going to handle. And then we're going to have questions and answers at the end. I know that we said 10 to 2, but I think 4 hours is a really long time. We're going to try and wrap it up by 1. And the remaining time we are here, we'll be available for questions. So please feel free to keep some of your questions for that time. So why do we keep talking about, understanding money and where are the risks and why you lose money? I have this clipping. Today, a lot of people don't read the newspapers, so it's our job to keep showing clippings. So when you have somebody in SEBI who's supposed to look after your money, and he doesn't understand that you don't give an OTP to some joker who comes and tells you, I'll freeze your account or I will not, and loses 10,000 rupees, you know what is the level of financial literacy in the country, isn't it? In fact, when I saw this article, I sent an SMS to the SEBI chairman saying, I think you should send your staff for a financial literacy session to Moneylife, because we should start with the regulator. And anytime somebody says, what do I need to know? I know everything. This is a reminder. These are people who do an entrance exam, qualify. They run programs for financial literacy in a huge institution called NISM, and this is the state of affairs, right? Why does this happen? Quite, simply because humans don't yet understand financial risk. With all the millions of years of evolution, we understand physical risks. So you see a tiger, you know how to react. You see a lizard also, you know how to react. I know what happens to me when I see one. But when you see some glib-talking, smart guy wearing a tie, telling you to invest in a completely toxic, dangerous product, saying this is going to get you fantastic returns, which are completely unreasonable, 120%, which nobody can earn, we believe it because our mind is not yet wired to understand financial risk. This is not me saying it. This is neurological research which has shown why people make mistakes in the financial world. Second thing that happens is we keep transferring our experiences of buying consumer products to financial products. So you buy a toaster, you take a good brand, you plug it in, it works. You go even for complex things. You want to buy a computer, by and large, you want that fancy car, you can afford it, you can actually drive away with it, it works. And so we expect that, when you're buying a financial product, and it comes from a big brand name company, it will give the results that it promises. It doesn't work that way. There is no test drive for investment products. You buy a mutual fund, it's only 1 year later that you know whether you made the right or the wrong decision. You buy an insurance product, you may be paying a premium for 5 to 10 years, you've not fallen ill. And it's only when you finally make a claim that you know whether you made a mistake or you made the right decision. So you have to have a completely different mindset when you're looking at financial products. Third thing that happens is that we fall for this pitch. Everybody is selling, selling, selling. So first you have these big brand names. We don't pause to think that Sachin Tendulkar knows all about cricket, but for God's sake, is he going to tell you about water or child insurance? But he does. And we fall for it. I believe a whole village bought child insurance from the company which Sachin Tendulkar was hawking. So we say he's a god of cricket, but for God's sake, don't fall for this. We do. Amitabh Bachchan here telling people, do you remember the ad? 2 security guards at the airport, and he's telling them, very nice, emotionally tugging ad which says, "Bas 2 minutes. For heaven's sake, insurance is not Maggi noodles. You cannot buy insurance in 2 minutes, but these are the advertisements that are bombarded to you day in and day out, and they have a subliminal impact on our minds. Then there's the media. The media is the one which gets these ads. The minute the advertising budgets run into crores of rupees, the media is most unwilling to write anything negative, and this is a fact of life. So you are not going to get mainstream media. In fact, I keep saying these days that what you see as journalism very often is vulture journalism, which means unless the person is dead and lying on the ground, nobody is going to pick holes in it. Because when he is up and about, whether it's a Vijay Mallya or it is an SR, they have huge fat advertising budgets. Whether it's the National Stock Exchange, just spending crores of rupees on advertising, the media will not write because the bottom line is important and they are careful. And like I said, finally, come insurance lene ki bimari. We did some numbers. I mean, I love this man, Irfan. He's such a fantastic actor. He can convince us about anything. And he had that little umbrella and said, come insurance lene ki bimari. So we did some number crunching. And we found that the company that he's hawking has the maximum rejections of insurance claims, which means jada insurance premium bharo and jada rejection ho jayega. Okay? This is how the system works, and which is why you have to be alert. And if it seems too good to be true, it usually is. I'm going to go to one section next where everybody of us has been so primed to think about things a particular way, and I believe it's mainly because of advertising, which is gold loans. Gold loans is a huge popular business. Gold loan companies have their stock prices at such a high that we know some very, very good analysts who recommend them as their top picks because, this is how it works.
पप्पा एक कान खींच कर ये समझाए, सुनो बेटा बुद्धू राम, जब घर में पड़ा है सोना तब का है कोरोना, बोले ना पैसा रख के सोना 2 मिनट में काम होना.
So look at what happens. You have gold. You already have it. You've saved it, kept it safely. What is Buddhu Ram going to do? He's going to take it to a gold loan company, going to deposit there, get less gold for the value that he's depositing, and he's going to pay interest on his own money. And there are millions of people doing it in India all the time. You want to know how it works? Here are some numbers that we worked on. You get only 70% of the value, so there's a 30% haircut. If you want 1 lakh of loan, you have to deposit 1 lakh rupees worth of gold, you get only 70,000, okay? There is an interest cost, which we called all the gold loan companies. It's anywhere between 24 to 30%. This is the kind of money that people are paying on the gold that they already own. And that's not all. There's a processing charge, the valuation charge, and the gold loan company always wins. It's not only sitting on a 30% haircut. If you're not able to pay it, they keep the gold, right? And we've figured out that it works whether the gold price goes up or it goes down. If it goes up, they want you to give more gold, whether you have it or not. And yet, you look at all the ads in our office in Moneylife, while we are preaching this, we've had at least 3 colleagues, mention to us that the first time they want money, they think 2 minutes, I'll go and get a gold loan. And that is the kind of disastrous mistakes that people are making. Look at the kind of money the gold loan company earns. So our advice is, for God's sake, it is not antique gold. It's not heirlooms that you've got. We are none of us, I think, here from royal families where the value that you have is much higher than the gold there. So sell the gold. You get 30% more and start buying back. You know that gold can be bought back even at 1 gram a month. So whatever you're earmarking for interest, if you invest that in buying it back, look at this chart here. We've done these numbers for 1 lakh. We have looked at it at 2%, which is 2,400 per month. In 39 months, you buy your gold back. If you've done a sale, it will take you 82 months, and you don't get that kind of time if you had to pay it back. And the red portion on top there is the amount of interest that you're paying. So it's just common sense, but gold loans are fixed in our mind, and I keep repeating this because there is so much of business going to gold loan companies. So I don't have to say how many Buddhurams there are. You just have to look at how much they are thriving, and you know how many people are making this mistake. So our principle is that stick to just one line. Don't lose money. It's hard-earned money. We work very hard for it. Forget about the returns that you're going to get. That is secondary. That is very important. In fact, Devashish will get irritated if I say, don't think about the returns. But it is far more debilitating to lose a part of your principal. And the mistakes that we make are making us lose it all the time. So this is a bunch of people who are sitting in front of Crawford Market Police Station in Bombay. And there are 10,000 of them, okay? Look at how many people have come for a seminar on how not to lose money. But once you have lost it, we have all the time in the world to fight for it. So 10,000 people sitting there, what do they want the police to do? Find the guy who's taken their money. Who's this guy? It's a guy who ran a company called City Limousine. And this is just one out of 20, 30,000 guys who are doing the same, trick and trap and taking your money out. He used to be seen around with Shah Rukh Khan and Dilip Kumar. He made a movie called Chak De India. And now, of course, while people are sitting outside there, he and his family is nicely absconding because they've transferred their money out. So who are the kind of people who have put money here? They're sitting in front of a police station. 6,000 policemen have invested in this company. Okay? And we're expecting them to get our money back. I mean, you know what the queue is going to be. If there is any money available, they're going to take their money back first. Then the income tax guys who have invested there. Then the RBI guys who ought to have known better. I started with SEBI. And here you have smart RBI guys. I shouldn't be saying this. They are supporting this program. And then there are 300 people from Mantralaya who are invested. How much did he raise? 6,500 crores. And he actually paid this bizarre return of 120% for 2 years. So why does he pay it? Because he's getting fresh money. And every one of these Ponzi schemes has a simple structure. The first check comes in less than 3 months. Okay? Because they want a bunch of people who will wave that check around and say, Mera paisa aa gaya. It's a very honest company. Look, they've paid me money already, which means that you yourself, if you've got that check and you've got a 120% return, you're going to break all your FDs and put money there. Then you will go to your family. You'll convince your parents, your neighbor, your brother. Before you know it, because one of the conditions in all these companies is that you get that return if you're able to get either 2 more, 4 more, left hand, right hand, whatever. But the condition is high returns are based on you spreading the chain. You have to get in people. And so who's trapped first? The guy is waving a check. So a lot of times he himself doesn't know that he's been made a fool of. He thinks that he's genuinely helping to make his entire neighborhood rich. And at the end of the day, he ends up conning all of them. Without fail, these companies, collapse. So many of them today are multinational companies, so they collapse over a period of time. They go from country to country. So you've got a whole bunch of them. This company called Pearls collected 49,100 crores. It's mind-boggling, isn't it? Sahara was 75,000 crore. And only the twin companies is 25,000 crore, which is the Supreme Court judgment of 2012. We don't even know if there are investors there. Speak Asia, in just 1 year, by pretending some little forms that you had to fill and buy IDs, they were giving you money, 2,200 crore in 1 year. What is common to all of them? There's a lot of action, there are a lot of SEBI orders, but no money has been returned to anybody. And this is the story. So when we say, don't lose money, you keep saying, once you've made a mistake, you can keep fighting and fighting. It's 10 years. If you calculate the rate of return, if you haven't got your money back in 7, 8 years, it means you've as good as lost your entire principal. So you cannot afford to lose the principal. Ponzi's, to sum up, they usually ask you to bring 2 or more people, otherwise that high return is not available. The returns can be very bizarre. With people like Sharda, it could be just 3, 4, 5% above a bank FD, because they're talking to the poorest people, and they can con them with as little as that. Or there are multiple structures. There are MNCs offering these structures. We have studied a lot of them. None of them, people keep coming to us and saying, is this one good and is that one good? The bottom line is, they all sell it to you saying, become a distributor and you're going to buy a Ferrari at the end of the year. Nobody makes that kind of money. You, at the most, some really smart sales guys will make enough for additional supplemented income. And this is something that Amway told us themselves. And they blame it on their distributors. They say, we don't say this as a policy. Our downstreams and our salespeople tend to get carried away, and they promise you things which we are not. Lots of countries have banned the binary Ponzi's, which is one, introduce 2 new people, right hand, left hand kind of thing, which are the worst of the lot. So many countries have banned it. Even in India, there is a clear ban. There is the Price Chits and Money Circulation Banning Act. Problem with the act is that while the act is very powerful, it comes into play only after you've been conned. So they need a complaint. It is done by the police. So until you finally complain, the police are not going to get up and arrest the guy. You as an investor get no satisfaction with the guy being arrested. Okay, fine, he spends 6 months in jail and then he's out on bail for the next 15 years while the cases go on. But what is it that you're interested in? You want your money back, right? So by the time the police act under this act, it is too late, because they sweet talk you. Even when the checks stop coming, they're constantly telling you, "Nahi, thoda problem hai, abhi aa jayega, next month milega." So they've waited long enough for all their money to be transferred overseas, or they've run away with it. By the time you realize your happy days are gone, nothing is going to come out of it, it is usually too late to collect anything. So they may get arrested, if you're lucky, 1 or 2 people, usually not the main promoters, but there is no money there, or the money is so nicely siphoned off that that doesn't come. And as you know, we are not a very honest country. So even if there is some money, we've noticed every time there's a scam, you say there's a 1,000 crore scam, the minute official action starts, it suddenly becomes a 750 crore scam. So you know where the remaining money has gone. It's not that it's not recovered, but it is all the officials in the chain who have also put money, which is why they're very reluctant to act. They're quite confident that mera paisa aa jayega. I'll catch the guy, I'll beat him up, I'll get my money. I don't care about the public. So we move on to something else. Again, the biggest scam in the world is what is called the advance fee scam. And every single day that you open the papers, today not many people read, but if you do read, every day there is somebody who's falling for it. This is moved from the Nigerian dictator who's sending you an email saying, I want to transfer $25 million to you. Why me? Who knows? I liked your email ID, or I got it. Okay? But people are not asking questions. They think they're getting $25 million. The emails come in the name of RBI governors saying that your forefathers had to get money. It's parked in an RBI escrow account. RBI governors have a standard disclaimer at the end of their email saying there is no escrow account, because there are that many thousand mails that are coming to them every day which say, what is this escrow account? And people have already paid money, saying, pay a 500 rupee processing fee, pay some 2,000 bucks. The amount of money that you pay depends on your gullibility. It has now got really dangerous because they've moved to social media. And on social media, all of us are so desperate for approval. So when these guys using very nice photographs, a completely fake profile, pretending they're highly educated, earning a lot of money, working in multinationals, are befriending you, you're falling for their claims of giving you business opportunities. A lot of women have given lakhs of rupees to guys who claim that they're going to come to India and marry them. They've said, I'm sending you a diamond in advance. It's got stuck in customs. These are all real stories, okay? Not making any of them up. Again, this is media reports. So, like I said, it's businessmen duped by a Facebook friend. Look at this Hyderabad story, 350 women, okay? They call it Rbi Bal. This is happening every day on Facebook. And when we did our Police and You series, some of you who attended would remember, the economic offences wing had series of tales about what is happening. Look at the kind of people, like I said, what is the extent of how much you can get scammed depends on your gullibility. So if you're a currency grower and you've been idiot enough to give 7 lakhs in the expectation of getting 7 crores, 70 crores, who knows what was promised. Any publicity is good publicity, so he manages to come out there saying, I'm a trusting guy. And then there's this other woman who's again making movies, promised, she and her boyfriend were promising a return of 200 to 400%. I mean, they're now cooling their heels in jail, but they raised thousands of crores. Nobody said, what business gives you a 200% return? And even if I earn a 200% return as a businessman, why am I giving it to you? I have to earn a lot more, right, to give you a return of 200 or 400%. But there are people who are dipping into their wallets and falling for it. It's happening all the time. So I now move to my next segment, which is banking. Okay, what do we do with our money? We first go and put it in a bank. And these days, that is not as simple as it used to be. We used to say, trust your bank. I'm putting my hard-earned money over there. And I have to trust my bank, right? So I think it, by and large, works in India. So to start with, we are lucky. We have a banking system which is still 42 to 45% owned by the government of India, which means that doesn't matter how badly the banks are doing, doesn't matter what their NPAs, our money is safe in those banks. And I think in the last 1 month, all of you have been getting WhatsApp messages with people saying that your banks, 9 banks which are under prompt corrective action are about to fail. I know lawyers who have gone and withdrawn their money. I would like to tell you, for God's sake, don't fall for this scaremongering. Public sector banks, unless this country is on the brink of a crisis and about to collapse, the government of India cannot not honor its obligations to you. So if you are in a big nationalized bank, and I stress on the word big nationalized bank, then you do not have to fall for all this scaremongering. In fact, I would urge you to please respond to these mails and tell people don't spread this nonsense, because those who have kept their money securely in a nationalized bank are actually taking it out and putting it in risky places like cooperative banks, which are really dangerous. Okay? So you have to choose your bank correctly. Like I said, government banks are safe. There's an implicit guarantee of the government of India, sovereign guarantee, and that is why you don't worry. I'm not talking about their performance. Big private banks, by and large, safe, again, because of the too big to fail principle. No country today can afford to embarrass itself by having big bank failures. I think the last time Lehman Brothers happened in 2008 also, there's a global consensus that it was a mistake to allow a big bank to collapse. So it's not going to happen. So if you get an SMS saying one of the big banks, and this has happened, okay? People have rushed and stood in queues to withdraw whatever. You have 7 lakh rupees parked there, but you want to withdraw 20,000 as though it's going to make a difference. Don't worry if it's a big bank. Cooperative banks, on the other hand, fail regularly. So at least once a month, minimum, there is an RBI circular closing down some bank. They close it down 3 years after they ought to have closed it down or acted to keep it alive. These are under dual regulation of the Reserve Bank and the Registrar of Cooperatives. They are fully politicized, run by politicians for their own benefit. The RBI does not pay attention. In fact, it does not pay attention to a lot of other things, but definitely cooperative banks, it wakes up when it is usually too late because of political pressure. So if it were my hard-earned money, I would not put more than 1 lakh, because 1 lakh is guaranteed by deposit guarantee. Even here, I must tell you that until the bank goes into liquidation, that money is not paid. And the RBI does not make the formal announcement of it going into liquidation, usually until it is 3 years. So a bank has stopped letting you withdraw money about 3 years before it actually goes into liquidation. So if you have money in a cooperative bank, you have to be alert. First sign of trouble, please get your money out and don't keep too much over there. And Nidhis, Bachat Ghats, Bishis, some chit funds, though there is a chit fund act, the less said, the better. if you know somebody who is running it personally, you are able to keep a watch on it, because every time I say, somebody will get up and say, I know one which is running for 25 years. Fantastic. If you know one, you're keeping a watch on him, he happens to be your neighbor or your uncle, by all means put money there. Even then, not all eggs in one basket. But if you don't know about it, I would say stay away. There was a time when people said it's difficult to open a bank account, and that's why we put money, especially poorer people, people who work for us, our domestic help, drivers, they used to find it difficult to open bank accounts. One good thing that this government has done is it has made it fairly mandatory for everyone to be able to open an account in a good, big nationalized bank, or please complain on their behalf. They have to open those accounts, and nobody can say, I couldn't open an account, and that's why I took the risk, right? So having taken the risk, having put your money there, you come to the next problem, which is it safe? Yes, if you keep it in a savings account and don't listen to all the noise around you. The problem starts when a relationship manager starts getting too friendly with you and you fall for it, and you decide that this young guy who's coming to you in a suit and a tie knows everything there is to do with your money. And I'm showing you a little clip to tell you really what happens in terms of relationship.
Told me that, Sumit, you go to really rich people. You, Sumit. Yes, you. And tell them, sir, you earned all this money. Well done. But you don't know how to manage it. I, on the other hand, who came on an Uber pool. Look at me, sir, look at me. Who got your number from your bank account? Sir, who has never even seen this money. But through God's grace and my mom's overconfidence, I can manage your money better than you. Best part, they'll believe it. They'll be like, yeah, take my money, ये wife का gold है, इसका कुछ हो जाएगा? हो जाएगा. हो ही जाता होगा. I don't know. I came on an Uber pool, bro. But don't worry, sir. By the time you will know where the money went, I will be in another bank.
It is happening to people every day. Of course, Sumit, as a relationship manager, will be wearing a tie and a suit. And so you're convinced that he knows what to do with your money. And we've actually sat in the yacht club and seen this happening. There's somebody who says he's working in an MNC, writing out checks, and like a 5-year-old asking this young girl, and whatever she says, monthly income, whatever, he's signing on forms without even reading it. We see it all the time. You go to a bank, you want to renew your FD, and there are 3 people crowding. What really upsets us is that they know that there is money in your account. The minute you have maybe sold a property or sold a bunch of shares and your savings account is populated with a lot more money, you are getting that call from the relationship manager for sure, saying, what are you doing with it? I have great investment opportunities. So we say that as long as you're able to shut that noise and make the decisions yourself, you can only trust your bank to keep your money safe, not what to do with your money. That is not a decision that you should allow your banker to do, because they have absolutely no qualms ripping you off. Okay? So let's look at banking. While I said what works and what doesn't, brand names make no difference. So whether it's a nationalized bank or a big name private bank or a foreign bank, each of them is just as likely to take you for a ride through the relationship manager con that you see. All of them are going to tell people to make you invest money in products that get them the highest return. So the bank is earning, and Devashish is going to talk more about it in his session. Relationship managers change. Like this guy says, I've gone to a different bank. Every 3 months they're out. The new guy who comes, he has very, very stiff targets. So until he makes you churn and change it, it is not registered as his sale. So he's going to come back and say, your portfolio is all shit. I'm going to tell you where to put the money, and he's going to make you change it. Each time there is a churn, there is more money that the relationship manager gets. I mean, he actually retains his job. That's all he gets. But the bank is making money, right? So what is the kind of things that they missell? The majority is insurance. huge amount of mis-selling, heinous mis-selling in insurance. I must tell you a story about Pune. There was one of the top 2 private banks. A relationship manager actually targeted people who were 75 and above. I discovered it because a friend of mine who passed away, his father, who was 80, was conned into buying 6 insurance policies from the same bank, all in the names of his grandchildren and children. So it's 20 lakh one policy, 30 lakh one policy. The total amount was 60 lakhs. And these were single premium policies. He was conned into believing that that's a legacy that he is leaving them. So he's insured, and that money is going to go to his children after he dies. I managed to get 60 lakhs back for him by fighting with the bank. I mean, not all of you know me. Not all the time will I succeed. So remember that it's a gamble. His brother, here in Pune, 84, 1.4 crores, similarly in these policies. An 87-year-old doctor, I don't even know what happened to her, 75 lakhs, because I know this through a mail that he has written to the chairman of that bank. But she has not come to us, so I don't know what's happened to her. But systematically targeted, and they are targeting senior citizens because they are very, very smooth talking. Senior citizens are not asking questions. Senior citizens are quite happy at the fact that they have a lot of free time. They're there at home in the afternoon. Somebody is willing to spend a couple of hours chatting with them, asking about their health, asking about their family, and then systematically conning them. What is worse is we've had 2 examples of people who have come to us. These are children, okay? They're coming to us and saying that my father is being ripped off. So there's one of them whose father was retired as a captain from Air India. He says the relationship manager is taking him for a ride. He's already given him 40 lakhs. There is nothing that we 3 brothers can do to convince our father that you're being taken for a ride. They're just sitting there helpless. They're asking us, what can you do? We say, you know, you can take him to a shrink, but he's not going to come. And we've had 2 examples like this. It makes me really angry about the kind of mis-selling that banks are doing. In each case, this is somebody who's coming from a bank. And believe me, it is pretty frightening. And it can happen to, these are people like us. These children are engineers. One of them had come from abroad, and he's come here on a holiday, and he says, what do I do? And we said, we have no answers. We can't come to your house and stop your dad from doing anything, right? Even if we run a foundation. We said, try and bring him here. Maybe he watches a presentation like this. He's going to wake up. But beyond that, there is nothing we can do. But it is something, don't, for heaven's sake, if you have older people in the family, say, I'm not going to look at it. It's his money. He's doing whatever. Ultimately, if you are ready to take on the responsibility for those people, it's one thing. This does not happen by chance, okay? Apart from the fact that they're sweet-talking them, there is research which shows that there is cognitive imbalance. You get older, you tend to become more trusting. So you tend to fall for this, and people are being conned and convinced. And this sometimes happens not from an outsider, it happens even within the family. You have one brother or one sister who's sweet-talking the parents into leaving their property. You know these disputes, right? All of you know them. It happens because of cognitive issues that happen as you grow older. I told you earlier that brand names don't matter. This is a case that we had fought for Sucheta Krishnamurthy. Her 4 crores, her total loss was 1.87. In every possible way that she could have been conned, she was conned. So she was told to take a home loan when she had the money, which she didn't need because they told her you'll get a tax break. They called it a smart home loan. She was told to invest in mutual funds. We did some numbers. The churning in the mutual funds alone, in terms of how much of exit load and entry load she ended up paying was of 20 lakh rupees or something. Then she was told to buy ULIPs. She was told that she'll get a 36% return, which will be high enough for her to pay back her bank loan. So her bank loan is actually at 0. Complete lie. She spent 2 years fighting. She then discovered Moneylife. We managed to really campaign and get her 1.37 crore. But the point is not that we got her 1.37 crore back. It is that she did not get interest on her money for 4 years. She did not get compensation. She did not get the money back she spent on lawyers. I mean, Moneylife was free, but she did not even get her full amount. I mean, where people were telling her you would be lucky if you get 10 lakhs back from the bank, that's the kind of money they were offering her initially. She got 1.37 crore, so she was finally happy, but it is much less than 1.8 that she lost, right? So we are saying brand names don't make a difference. You cannot beyond a point trust the bank to do your investments for you. That decision has to be made by you. So some quick tips: ask questions, negotiate hard for everything. If you have a home loan, this is especially true because everything today is negotiable. They're not giving you anything because there's a standard fixed rate. Many of us are used to the time when, RBI used to decide the rates through the Indian Banks Association. Every bank has a different rate for most services, and all of them operate almost like a cartel. Somebody starts a new rate, everybody else is doing it. Put things down in writing. And when I keep saying the danger of sweet-talking relationship managers is this: even when they have conned you, even when they have changed their bank, they manage to hold you off for 3 to 4 months until you become ineligible to file a complaint by saying, "Nee, I'm doing it. Main hu na, main karta hu, main kuch karta hu." You have not to believe it. Please, next day, put it in writing. There's a mistake in your credit card. They've not done a direct debit when you asked for it. They've not done something else. Fine, you've told your relationship manager. Let him continue to work at his level. You ensure that you have put in a complaint to the nodal manager. Okay? These email IDs are there on the website. We've fought very hard to ensure it's there. So please Google search, go to the bank, go to the customer section division. Look, every bank is supposed to put the nodal officer's name, his email ID, and his number. So you can't say, "I didn't know who to complain." It's there. And you have to follow this process in order to escalate it any further. There is a service committee. There's supposed to be an internal ombudsman. We have not seen any evidence of that as yet. We are fighting for it. But you have to follow a process. You have to put things in writing. Even when they tell you things like, "You'll get a 36% return on ULIPs." The minute you put it in writing saying, "Please confirm that this is what you promised me," they usually drop you. Or if they have not replied and they still take your signature, when you fight, you have a better chance because you have something on record. If the bank has not replied to your email, and we say don't stop at one relationship manager because he's gone, make sure that when you're negotiating something, you have 2 levels above him, because these are not guys who are leaving a job every 3 months. So you have to mention all 3 of them when you write an email. Put it in writing every time you're suspicious that you're being hard-sold something as being better than what it is, right? And be very careful what you sign. Most dangerous words, we all end up saying, "Yahan pe sign karo." We are quickly initialing it. We are still in a paper economy, not a paperless one. So we sign. And co-applicants, everyone will keep telling you, "Usme kuch nahi hai, you're just a co-applicant." Though you're women especially, okay? You're not earning, but they'll tell you, there is no legal obligation. It's untrue. If there is a problem, the marriage breaks up, you are fully responsible not only for the loan, but your credit history also gets damaged. So if anyone tells you, sign and you have absolutely no responsibility, yes, when you're taking a home loan especially, it is one person who's paying it as decided by the 2 of you. But if you think there's no legal liability, it is not correct. But I know that every time, I've taken a loan 3 times, and every time they claim that, "Usme kuch nahi hai, you just need another name." There is nothing that anybody does. There's not a single signature that is taken from you without a reason or without a liability, right? The next thing that we distribute like toffee these days, because it's required everywhere, is your set of personal documents for KYC. So Yogesh is going to talk more about it. I'm sticking to a simple point. Ensure that you say what you have given that document for. So you're giving photocopies. Right there near your signature, you write, "Given for Airtel connection, given for a Jio connection, given for ICICI bank account." Name the bank so that that set of documents cannot be misused by anybody to take a fake SIM or open an account or do something else in your name. You'll see more of it later. Next thing, watch out for spurious charges. Okay, many banks have begun to just add a charge, add an insurance without so much as your permission. So some of it is an insurance, and this is something that happened in the 90s with Citibank. They started something called Citibank Suraksha, small 75 rupees, which apparently gave you an insurance. Nobody even knows. So 98% of the people did not notice that there was a charge being added. The 2% that noticed, not enough people called up and protested. The minute someone protests, they reverse the charge immediately. HDFC Bank is doing it now. Every quarter, 110 rupees. If you haven't noticed it, you probably paid for 3-4 years. If you haven't seen it as yet, go back and check. They have been deducting the charge, especially if you are an Imperia customer. After all our fighting and writing, now instead of an auto tick at the bottom, they have a little grey thing in their mailer right on the top saying that it is free for a while. After that, we are deducting it. If you want to opt out, write to us. We as consumer activists believe that nothing that you do should be an opt-out. It should be an opt-in. If I want it, I'll ask for it. It shouldn't be that I'm automatically deducting your money. And if you don't want me to deduct, you should call me. Because I've not asked for it in the first place. Why should I have to make a call and say, dial 1 for this, dial 2 for that, put in your number? You know, you have no business harassing me like this. But believe me, that's going to be another long battle. Our first victory has been at least to make them put it up front. And even then, we believe that it's been all over social media. They have been embarrassed. But I believe not even 10% of HDFC Bank account holders still know about it or have still noticed that they're being conned month after month. I'm now going to, I think some of you would have seen this cover story. We've written a lot of this. If you haven't, you might want to look it up on the net. The next section I'm going to is credit cards. So how many of you think we need credit cards? We do? How many have credit cards in this room? Everybody, right? And we need them, isn't it? Because I keep saying, you booked a Kingfisher flight and he decides to cancel them. You're standing at an airport. Who can you go to for money? You only need a credit card. You have a debit card, it's fine. Lots of people tell me, yeah, but a debit card works. It does. Okay? If you have lots of money in your savings account, you don't have to stand at the airport and worry about breaking an FD, fine. But if you have a minimum balance of 5,000, it's not going to get you a plane ticket. If you have a sudden emergency and have to rush someone to the hospital, is it a choice between running to the hospital or trying to gather some money? Credit card is the only thing that gives you money when you don't have it, right? So I do believe that you need it. On the other hand, you have to know the economics of how it works, okay? And I'm going to show you.
Business class tickets for your parents' first international vacation? 110,000 rupees on your MasterCard. Renting a luxury car? 8,000 rupees. Tickets to the amusement park? 5,600 rupees. Watching your parents become children again? Priceless. There are some things money can't buy.
So there are some things money can buy. Priceless is one of the most famous campaigns and most successful campaigns in the world. And you're going to see how well it works for, not for you, not for those parents who are happy. Because I keep saying, if those parents knew that this little Buddhuram of theirs did not have the money and he was blowing up this kind of money on one trip, I'm sure the parents wouldn't have minded going economy instead of business class. And he's going to spend the next 6 years of his life repaying that at 40 to 65%. I think, you know, the expression on their face would be priceless when they realize he's not doing that well, for heaven's sake. Don't pretend to us, right? I don't know any parent who doesn't want their kid to be honest. But this is the business model of credit cards. They are not interested in, how many of you pay in full? Everybody, right? So let me tell you, the credit card companies are not interested in us. Okay? Don't for a moment kid yourself that you are their favorite customer. The best offers, the best deals go to the guys who read their first line. You need to pay only 15%. That is the first line on a credit card bill. You would think they've given you 2 lakh rupees to blow up this kind of money. They would want you to say, better pay at least 50% of it, right? No, they're saying pay only 15%, because the rest of the money after that period is going to get them this. And these are not numbers that I'm cooking up. This is something they've admitted before the National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission. Okay? So they tell you it is only 24%. Most of you who have a credit card thing, I'm going to roll it over 24. It's not. They have all kinds of charges that they keep adding on. And what you actually pay minimum is 40%. Depending on the bank, the fancier your card, the amount only goes up. if you roll your money over, there's no free credit. This is something, again, people don't understand. They say, I have a credit card, I have to get a free period. It's not true, because you have a billing cycle. If you buy at the end of the billing cycle, you have maybe 1 week, sometimes 3 days. The minute you have an outstanding, everything else that you spend on a credit card is immediately added to your outstanding. There is no free period, and this interest kicks in. So you have to bring your outstanding to zero if you don't want to pay interest. And you would be surprised how many people go and start fighting, saying, why did I not get? Because no one is bothered about reading the fine print. The business model is to lure you to spend that money, and it compounds at this interest rate. So in a matter of 2 years or less than a year, you're such a huge defaulter that there is no way you're going to pay it back, and then that, of course, has an impact on your credit history. In India, luckily, because we have moved from a nationalized banking system and a controlled economy, we are gradually going step by step into the US kind of system, which is far more extortive and unfair. Okay? But we are going there very rapidly, which is why we have started this campaign on bank charges, because if all of us don't wake up, don't watch out, don't fight, we're going to get to a situation like this. So I'm showing you a clip from a very popular serial called Boston Legal. A bunch of lawyers who are talking about one of the juniors has got a fat credit card bill. So they call the person from the credit card company, who's their lawyer, to discuss it. And you know, she says, I've been stuck with a low credit score and been billed for things. They've jacked up my interest without even so much as telling me. And look at what the answers are. It's quite an eye-opener, because it is happening to all of us. So anyone has any doubts about what they think of all of us who pay our bills in full? Okay, if you have any doubts, they think of you as a deadbeat, because they're going to earn zero on us. In fact, even the cost of sending you your credit card statement and the little plastic they send you is a cost to them. They make their money on the people who do not pay their amounts in full, right? So don't say why credit card companies do this. This is the business model. This is why they're able to give you credit in the first place. So next is credit history. You all know that today the power is in the hands of those who lend money to you. So you get into a fight, you're not able to resolve it. You do not have the luxury of saying, kar lo jo karna hai, go to court, because the weapon is in their hand. They just report you to a credit bureau. There are 4 bureaus that are tracking you. What they say is going to affect your ability to borrow. This is really important for youngsters, because very many of them want their motorcycle, right? They're going to college, they need a motorcycle, they're getting a loan, and they think it's all right to ditch it, because they know that a second-hand motorcycle costs nothing. The attitude is, what will they do? Kya kar lega? Okay? And I keep telling them, kya kar lega? The power is in their hands, because we as customers have been sleeping. A credit bureau, I mean, I keep saying, look at this, okay? They lobbied in the 80s and 90s saying we're giving home loans to people without knowing anything about them, so we need a credit bureau. Not enough to have one, they set up 4. RBI gave them permission. Till today, there is no credit bureau to say what loans they are giving to industry. So even though there is supposed to be all kinds of arrangements and inter-institutional meetings, a month ago you had a new RBI deputy governor still talking about creating a credit bureau for industry. So Vijay Mallya's outstandings are not known to them. But my outstandings, whether it is 70,000 for a motorcycle or a 20 lakh home loan, is not only known to each bank, each bureau. Anybody can pay money and get it out. In fact, in America, even if somebody is going to rent a house to you, he can access the credit bureau and find out whether you're a guy who pays or not. Right? The system works against us individuals. The power is in their hand. We, for years together, we fought a battle even to allow you to get a statement. So what used to happen is you're not getting a loan, and you wonder why. And we had to take it to the RBI to say, shouldn't a guy know why he's not getting a loan? And then when the RBI asks, they say, well, he's got a default. So how the hell do you know? We then started getting our credit reports. There also the credit bureau said, oh, well, everybody will ask us for their report. We'll spend all our time giving it. It's a cost. So they say, okay, you can charge 100 rupees for a report. They said, but what about the courier charges? Okay, you can charge 42 rupees for a courier, which is why you have to pay 142 rupees before you get your credit report in the first place. Further fight for another 10 years, and now we have moved to international standards, which happened really after 2008 around the world, that each individual has a right to get his credit report once a year from everybody. In India, they've said not everybody, only CIBIL. CIBIL will not send it to you. So please take note of this, because if you say I've not been getting a loan, you can go to this link on CIBIL's website and get your free credit score, right? How does this work? They look at what kind of borrowings you have, what is the outstanding. So if it's a secured borrowing, like a home loan, you know, your credit score is higher. If it's unsecured, it affects your credit score. They look at your payment history. So if you've been paying diligently for a longer time, your score is higher. If you have just unsecured loans, your credit score is a little lower. If you have multiple credit cards, you're rolling them over, you're paying from one to another, all that hugely affects your credit score. So a lot of people write to us on our credit helpline and say, I've not been getting a loan, or the bank chased me forever to say, take a credit card. When I actually applied, they just suddenly turned quiet without giving me any reason. So if you're not getting your credit card or you've been rejected for a loan, 99% there is a problem in your credit score. And it may be a genuine problem because you've forgotten some payment some time ago, and that's why you've been in the defaulter list. It is low, or somebody has made searches in your name, or there is a mistake, but you need to immediately go to your credit bureau. It's all there on the website. Check it and rectify it. Today, none of us in society have the luxury of living without rectifying this, because at some time or the other, you need to be a borrower. And that can be as simple as some people say, well, I have no borrowings. I'm, paid back my home loan and whatever. But you're likely to go abroad. And today you can't go abroad without a credit card, right? I know a lawyer from one of the top law firms who said he paid 15 lakhs overnight because he needed a credit card. He was going abroad. And that's the time they just extracted everything from him at the interest they talked about to clear his name from CIBIL and to give him the loan. So be careful. Don't leave it for the last moment. Don't leave it after your tickets are bought and suddenly there's not enough time and you discover there's a problem, or you go there to get a credit card when it's too late. All this doesn't affect your existing relationships, okay? That also is something you should remember. If you already have a credit card and you've defaulted on a motorcycle loan or some other loan, it does not affect the existing credit card, so you'll continue to think things are fine. As long as you use that, you have no issue. You go to get a next one, or you go to get a home loan, that's the time you will realize there's a problem in your credit history, because all of them access it directly from the credit bureaus. So how do you improve your credit scores? There are simple ways. It's not so simple actually, because everyone comes to us and saying, I want to improve my credit score tomorrow because I want a home loan day after, or I've already booked my flat and then I've discovered that I'm marked a defaulter. It doesn't happen. It takes 2 to 3 years. Okay? But you have to pay back your debt. You have to be able to convince a new borrower that you were an innocent, you had a fight, or the company has closed down. There is a genuine reason why you were in a dispute with the last guy. You will end up with a new loan, smaller amount at a much higher interest rate, which you're going to pay back diligently in order to show that you are now a better person who honors his obligations, a swell guy, and you're going to slowly build your credit score through a new loan. It's a long and tedious process. And like we said, co-applicants, joint applicants are all affected by defaults of the other applicant. And increasingly, since there are a lot of divorces these days, you have to remember, you take a joint home loan, you take a joint account, there's an impact on both spouses. My next section is insurance, but I'm not going to get into it because it's a vast subject. I'm going to only stick to 2 things. One, especially because there's so much of mis-selling of insurance that happens from banks. One is that insurance is quite the opposite of buyer beware, which is the usual principle for most financial products. Here you start paying the premium, you fill up a form, and you think that's the end of the story. The key is whether you're getting your money when you actually make a claim. and I keep saying you may have paid for 4 years or 5 years, you finally make a claim, that's the time they take a big fat magnifying glass and even check whether your date of birth is correct, whether you reported hypertension. So that's the time that people are going to start looking at what you've done, what you've filled up. So it is the opposite of buyer beware. You have to be really careful. Today, RBI has brought mis-selling under the banking ombudsman. Earlier, you had to go to IRDA, nothing much happened, or you had to go to a consumer court, which was at least 2 to 3 years before you got any justice. IRDA has also made some changes, thanks to all the lobbying and problems, which is that all the exclusions which you used to discover after you made a claim are supposed to be reported upfront. So please notice whether that's happening or not. Second thing, the common complaint that we have is that the relationship manager, whoever it is that's selling you insurance, keeps telling you, don't worry, I'm bringing the policy to you. He ensures that it doesn't come to you for the 15-day free look-in period. Okay? And all these exclusions are upfront in the policy document. So if you do not get it in that free look-in period, do not notice mistakes, do not notice he's deliberately put a wrong date of birth because you should be eligible for something, you have to ensure that you put in writing to the insurance company that I will not accept this because I have not got the policy document, and I will consider this policy having begun only the day I've got it. Please put it in writing. Don't say usne nahi diya, because if you are a softie, it is your fault and it's going to be your problem afterwards. So even if it means being a little nasty, being a little tough, do it. It's your money, right? Next, world of difference between bank FDs and corporate FDs. I keep saying banks are safe, bank FDs are safe. It's not the same with corporates. Big names like Jayaprakash I think has finally paid at least a principal back. Unitech was big glamorous company with wraparound ads every day until they went bust. This is happening all the time. Corporate FDs are unsecured. You're the last person in the queue if the company defaults, because secured lenders get their money first. Under the new Companies Act, it's a little more difficult for companies to raise money through FDs. So there are the ones which are there are relatively safe, okay? But it's a relative word. There's no guarantee. It is still unsecured. So if you have a better option, look for it. Now I come to this thing that we've been doing. We've been running this campaign. We've had over 216,000 signatures, because all the things that I pointed out to you about what is wrong with banks needs to be fixed. So we've had a few victories. So we had, RBI was doing nothing about digital security. It had just draft regulation. So if money goes out of your account, you are running around chasing your tail forever. RBI has now said that that money has to be credited back to you, and the bank has to determine whether it was your fault or the bank's fault, or whether the bank was hacked. Earlier, you paid the price for everything, even if the bank was hacked. So some things have changed. The banking ombudsman rules have changed. I'll tell you a little bit about them. But we have a long way to go before we are into safe banking. And my big fear is that if we are not alert, and I keep saying that a lot of the dirty tricks that we inherited from the West. But after 2008, Europe and America has improved considerably, because they had a lot more activism and they have improved much more than us. We are lagging behind. We didn't have a global crisis, so we did not feel the need to improve these other things. And in the last 8 years, you would notice every few days, banks are increasing the charges that you pay. Withdraw more than 3 times, they're giving you a charge. You use a certain number of checkbooks, you have to pay for the rest. We believe that this is rubbish, because in India, Indian banks earn the highest spread on your money. No other country in the world gives banks a spread of minimum of 6%, because their lending rates are anywhere over 9 to 10. Today, SBI has reduced your savings bank interest to 3.5. They're all regularly reducing their FD interest. So they are not giving you a return that you deserve. And please come in front. You are ending up paying a lot of money. They are also billing you for everything which goes straight to the bottom line, because all their expenses are taken care of. And this is a huge battle. Those of you who have seen my change.org petition and not signed it, please sign and please circulate. I think unless we have, after we got 2 lakh numbers, 3-4 changes have happened, and I put them all up there in my updates. But if we go to 10 lakhs, you're going to get a little more. It's not going to happen before that. It's a huge battle. We even did a tweet morcha, wrote on Twitter, we're trending, but believe me, it's not easy. So one of the ways in which people are being conned, really ripped off, and this is something on which we're planning a public interest litigation, is home loans, because every time interest rates go down, when they go up, the bank instantly the next day adjusts your EMI. So they increase the number of EMIs that you pay. When it goes down, they do not tell you, first of all. You are supposed to get to know and call them. When you call them up, they say, come and meet us at the branch. Then they start a negotiation. They take a charge from you. Okay? How much they charge you depends on how smart and knowledgeable you are. If you're not aware, it can be 11,000. It can be a percentage of your outstanding. If you get tough, yell and scream, threaten to complain, threaten to move to someone else, and you have a good credit score, it can come down to as much as 3,000, sometimes even less than that. Now, we believe that this is complete loot, because when you sign a floating rate loan, what floats up has to float down in the exact same manner. It can't be there's a different set of rules while going up. So interest rate goes up, EMI increases. Interest rates go down, reduce my EMIs by 2 EMIs or 1 EMI, end of story, right? That's how it should work. Why is it that it works differently? And when they call you to negotiate, there's this little trick that they're pulling on you. They're making you sign a new set of documents. So it's a new contract, it's a new agreement in which you're agreeing to this payment and to a change. And some banks, interest rates may go down 3 times a year. Some banks have a reset clause only once a year, which is again unfair, because it works only when interest rates go down. When it goes up, it is still going. If interest rate goes up 3 times a year, they will increase your EMI 3 times a year. But when it goes down, they're not doing it. As unbelievable as it sounds, this has been going on for the last 10 years. And even today, there are people who have borrowed at 14 and 15% and do not know that interest rates have come down to less than 12. And the amount, people don't do calculations. Devashish is going to talk about compounding. People do not know that over the 10-year tenure, they are paying maybe 5, 10 lakhs. In fact, we are going to come up with something. You're talking about it. We're going to come up with a meter where you can put in your details and figure out over the term of your loan how much you're going to be ripped off for. And it's not small amounts. A lot of people tell us, kya kare? I'm too busy, I'm paying 11,000. It's not about that 11,000. You have to do that. That's a minimum you can do until we are able to fight it out. But if you don't do it, then the amount extra that you're paying is really lakhs and lakhs of rupees, which could probably get your child married or, sent to an engineering college or an MBA program. It's big money, and it's your hard-earned money. So please start thinking about it. We have, I would say, read that petition and, the comments below. I've just added a couple of them. They're quite tragic when you look at how people have been duped. There's one guy who says when rates climbed from 7.5, they went up to 15.5. The bank was doing it overnight. When it comes down to 10.5%, he's not told. And today, nobody wants to read the papers. So when RBI credit policy is a big deal in the newspapers, people are unaware. I mean, we are journalists, so we find it shocking when people say, I didn't know interest rates went down. But you would be surprised at how many well-earning techies, doctors, engineers are clueless about things like interest rates going up and down because they're not reading the papers. And now come to the new RBI rules. Like I said, we've been fighting for this part of it's entirely due to the petition that we have started, because we have filed RTI and they've admitted that these changes are because of the petition. So they've increased the amount, so they would take complaints only up to 10 lakhs. So first of all, how do you approach a banking ombudsman? No, I think I missed a slide. So RBI is now asking you to provide more details. The banking ombudsman is covering NEFT, RTGS. They're asking banks to provide more details. And the mis-selling of insurance will now be under the banking ombudsman. They are allowed to pay you compensation of up to 1 lakh, which is a small amount for mental harassment. And the amount for the complaint has gone up from 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. We think it's ridiculous, because I told you the example of a senior citizen. It's 1 crore. Is he going to make 5 complaints? So we feel that there's a lot more that needs to be done, but this is the first step. How do you approach the ombudsman? The complaint has to be in writing. They do not accept complaints unless you've gone through the process that I talked about earlier, which is that you have to complain to your branch, you have to write to your nodal manager, you have to wait for 1 month. If you've not heard from them or you're not satisfied with the answer, only then can you escalate it to the banking ombudsman. And you have to file it within 1 year and 1 month. So I keep saying, don't listen to sweet talk that it's going to be resolved by a relationship manager. It does not happen, right? So I talked about this from July 1, the scope has increased. I've already told you what it is. And we think that all this is not good enough. We need a consumer charter. But RBI has just now told us we have no intention of giving the consumer charter any teeth. So that's another battle. I'm not going to get into details now. Finally, things do go wrong, okay? With all our best intentions, however clever we are, every other day we have a problem. So what do you do when you have a problem? RBI has created a new website called suchet.rbi.org.in. It is linked to all the regulators, and you can file a complaint against any regulator from here, whether it is your pension regulator, National Housing Bank for home loans, or the consumer FDs, and it links you straight. It gives you a tracking number. This is just too new. It was started in the last days of Raghuram Rajan. So we have no idea how much it has worked because we don't have enough feedback from people on how well it is working. And frankly, we've not had one person coming back saying, oh, this is terrific, it's working. We usually think we'll see it at least on social media. But it is worth trying, okay? More importantly, we feel you should use the PG portal. This is tracked directly by the Prime Minister's office. And we hear a lot of positive feedback. And this is not just for financial complaints, it's about everything, okay? It's your Amazon hasn't delivered your product right, or it is your consumer, or it's medicine. You can file, or your home loans, or your real estate. You can file a complaint over here. And the results are much better than anything else we have had in the past, right? There's also the National Consumer Helpline. Again, that's being monitored a lot better in this government. So earlier, we never used to hear much, but for simple complaints, we hear the National Consumer Helpline has been helping. And finally, there is Moneylife Foundation. Okay, so we do 3 things. We have 3 free helplines. We have the Legal Resource Center. We have a credit helpline for credit card issues. We have a tax helpline. Thank you so much.